This episode, guys, I want this to be a reminder for you that the setbacks that you're facing, they may not be a punishment. They might be a positioning, right? We often think of this as like, I'm being punished. Must have done something wrong. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're definitely not done. Well, welcome to the Who You Know Show, where what you know is important, but who you know can make all the difference in your wealth, health, business, career, your relationships, and definitely in your life. And we're here to help you to level up, get noticed, and connect to your next opportunity. So today's episode is all about turning rejection into a redirection. Okay, so if you've ever been fired, laid off, overlooked, trust me, this episode's for you. You don't want to miss it. I'm going to be taking you behind the curtain to a moment that actually changed everything for me. And it might just change how that you view a setback. So in this episode, I'm going to share the real life story of getting fired during the Great Recession and how that unexpected blow in my life really set the stage for something much, much bigger and a huge breakthrough. So in this episode, you're going to learn why rejection is often your greatest redirection. We're going to talk about how to bounce back when the rug is literally pulled out right from underneath you. And we're going to dive into the mindset shifts that helped me to rebuild again and again and again. All right, let's get into it. Let's rock. Let's roll. Let's go. All right, so let me take you back. I remember I was about 20 years old working at this little old company called Harley Davidson. And I loved this job. It was super, super fun. As a 20-year-old, trust me when I tell you, you want to be working at Harley Davidson. It was super fun. Now, I remember I was the youngest guy there. And I'm selling these Harleys, and they're all these biker guys, and the environment was very toxic, actually. I mean, if you think of biker gang, these are the other salespeople. They're and just macho men, tough guys. And I remember in training, my first 2 weeks there in training, I'm 20 years old, and me and my trainer get into it. And he was trying to punk me out in front of everybody else. He was trying to make me submit and punk me out in front of everybody. And I was just like, bro, you don't know who you're talking to. And he's like, let's take this outside. And this is my trainer. This is the guy supposed to be training. So we literally go outside and fist fight. That's the type of environment. And then walk back in like nothing happened. Me and him both had a black eye. That was the environment. But it was super cool, though. The motorcycles, the muscle cars, the live events. They would do live events with bands and bikini bike wash babes and all this stuff. And it was a cool environment, UFC, they sponsored the UFC. And, it was just cool. Love that job. A lot of fun. Toxic environment, for sure. Okay, definitely toxic. You want to talk about toxic masculinity, that's a buzz thing, right? Buzzword, whatever. Toxic, that's it. Okay, bunch of macho men. But anyway, so I'm there selling these motorcycles and having fun. Loved the job. Bought a motorcycle. Bought a Harley, and then one day, I remember I was there, and they had Harley Davidson owned this company called Buell. It was a sports bike, actually. They had these Buells. And the Buell went out of business, okay? And when they went out of business, all of a sudden, these motorcycles were heavily, heavily discounted, 50% off, 60% off. Huge. Motorcycles that were let's say they were $15,000 was $7,500, super discounted. And the showroom was buzzing. Like, people were picking these things up like crazy. I mean, they were moving fast. Let's just put it that way. I mean, when things go on sale that deep, right, it was pretty crazy. And I remember I took a deposit from a police officer who wanted this motorcycle, but his credit wasn't that great, right? He was going to finance it. And his credit wasn't that great. So he asked his sister to co-sign. And so his sister had great credit, co-signed, got approved, took the deposit. But because the paperwork had some issues, we had to send it to his sister and all this kind of stuff. It was like she wasn't here. She didn't live here. So we had to ship it to her and overnight it and all that kind of stuff, and she had to sign it. Well, it came back with some issues. She didn't sign it right. Something happened there. I don't remember exactly, but the owner decides not to sell him this bike. Says that it's just too much trouble, too much of a pain in the butt, and says, we're not selling him this bike. Tell him he can pick up his deposit. And this police officer, he was like crushed. Like, I remember my phone was blowing up. Call after call after call after text after text after text after text. The guy was like begging. He's like, you can't do this. Like, I put down a deposit. Like, this is, he's freaking out. And he's like basically begging me to speak with management. Like not that I speak with management, but that he could speak with management. He's like, I just need to talk to him. Let me talk to him. Like, can I talk to him? And I mean, again, he's calling my phone over and over and over and over and over. So I was like trying to get them to speak with him. I'm like, dude, this guy's like, first of all, I was disappointed because I'm losing a sale, number one, because the owner just decided to do that. But, they're not my motorcycles. What am I going to do about it, right? And so I'm like, but guys, you got to talk to him. Like, he's going to come up here. He's got to pick up his deposit, right? He's going to come up here. So anyway, long story short, the guy just wanted some clarity, and I was trying to advocate for him because he needed that clarity. And they fired me on the spot because I was advocating for this guy. And they made up a story. They said that I was causing a scene on the showroom, that I was like belligerent or something and going crazy and cussing and screaming and, throwing a big hissy fit, which was not true. I was just advocating for this guy, saying, hey, you just need to talk to him, right? Well, they made up this story because the owner, he had always said, I'm not going to pay unemployment. He had made that very clear. I'm never going to pay unemployment. This guy was a macho man. He's like, I'm not paying for unemployment. And so they wanted to flip it and make me the bad guy, whatever. So I was a scapegoat, okay, for actually multiple layoffs that happened that same day and that same week. They laid off a lot of people. And he was just looking for reasons to get rid of people, right? You got to think about it. What was going on back then? This was the Great Recession. This is, the economy's crashing, the market's crashing, people are losing their homes. Again, this company, Buell, goes out of business, right? Sales are down. And they were having layoffs, but he didn't want to pay unemployment. So the owner was making up stuff and just getting rid of people. And that's what happened to me. He made up a story about, false narrative about me being, crazy on the showroom floor. And he actually had people write false statements and threaten their jobs if they didn't. These are the type of people I was working for. Okay? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So here I am, and this was 2 days before Christmas, by the way. 2 days before Christmas, I'm getting let go just got fired, wrongly accused, all these things. I mean, just it was a horrible scenario. And I was anxious and I was scared. You know, my stress around money hit the roof. You know, thought my career was over. I didn't know what to do, felt lost. Was watching my bank account go backwards. And I had all of this stress and anxiety and fear, and I felt paralyzed with fear because I grew up in extreme poverty. Many times I didn't have any food, water, lights, anything like that. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. I remember stealing water from the neighbor's water hose just to get the toilet to flush. I remember candle lights because no electricity, and propane camp stoves to cook on and things like that. I mean, it was essentially we were camping inside. At least we had a roof over our heads. But I grew up very poor. It was extreme poverty. And, you know, here I am. I was like making something of myself. I'm working at Harley Davidson. I felt like successful. And, had my own place, and I had a Harley Davidson at 20 years old. And anyways, like I thought things were great, and then bam, life hits you. Getting thrown to the wolves, getting let go, getting stories made up about me, all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. But when one door closes, another one opens. I started applying to automotive dealerships. And, it's kind of interesting when you think about it because the automotive industry actually rejected me before Harley Davidson. Before I was working at Harley, I tried to get a job in car sales. I tried. And they told me I was too young, too green, too new. Like, what did I know? They were rejecting me. They straight up. Basically, ageism. I was like 18 years old, and they were like, what? No, you're not going to work here. Essentially, that's exactly what they told me, really. It was like, you're too green, you're too new. So I was 18 trying to sell cars. Well, fast forward, now I got a little sales under my belt with Harley Davidson. I worked there for 2 years. So now I'm going into back to the auto industry, because that's the only thing I knew. I'm like, dealerships, like you could walk into a dealership, and I didn't have a college education or anything. I just knew, like, I got to walk in, put in an application. Well, I did that, walked in, and someone I knew there, I had worked with years before at Sears. I had worked at Sears selling electronics. And she saw me. She was the receptionist there, saw me, and was like, oh, you're looking for a job? Got the sales manager right away. He came over, started the interviews, and it was a who you know moment, right? Bada bing, bada boom. Got the job in auto sales. And what's irony about that is the auto industry had previously rejected me. And this time, they hired me, and I actually became their top producer every year, consecutively, 6 years in a row. Just absolutely crushing the game. So it was really a full circle moment, right? That very place that once told me no was now providing, the ground and the foundation that I was building my career on. So rejection is often just redirection in disguise. So I was working there, and I was thriving in the auto industry. But here now, I hit a glass ceiling over and over and over. There was no room to grow. I was the top producer there, and I was super outside the box, innovative, creative, aggressive even, all right? And I was crushing it. But I was being passed over for promotion. I wanted to move up. I wanted to go into sales management, and there was politics at play. The GM didn't like me. I don't know if he was threatened or what. I don't know what it was. He didn't like me. So I made a bold decision to leave the security that I had, because I did have security. I mean, I was doing very well because I was the top producer, and I bet on myself. And I made a transition into financial services, which is what I do today. And let me just tell you, at first, that was not easy at all. I hit rock bottom again. I went from being the top to boom, hitting bottom. I remember all those same feelings came up again of fear, stress, anxiety, and all of that was rooted in finances. It was rooted in my money, thinking about going back to living in poverty, I mean, that'll scare the crap out of you, right? So I had to, got into this business. It wasn't easy. And I had to learn how to sell, how to market, and really how to generate leads from scratch. Okay? I had to do all of that. It was like running all the departments at once. Sales, marketing, service, finance. And I had to do it all, generate the leads all from scratch. Which, if you think about it, it's a big part of what I get to do today, is I get to help people and coach people on how to create inbound leads for either their job search, their business, their, whatever it is they're trying to do and accomplish. How do you create inbound leads and interest? It's through marketing. I had to learn that, though, right? And here's something I remember is, if nobody knows you, nobody flows you. Grant Cardone says that. And you could be great at what you do, but if no one knows you, it doesn't matter. Right? You're the best kept secret. Right? So I had to figure out marketing and figure out how to, get people to notice me and to bring visibility. It's actually one of the reasons why we started this podcast. Is so that I could get the word out there and I could start, talking about the things that I do. So, again, I faced rejection. I remember going through rejection, being discouraged, having all that financial pressure again. But now, again, I'm having to rebuild. I'm having to develop new skills, right? Outbound sales, personal branding, inbound strategy. How do I create inbound? Learning how to build trust, not just sell products, right? I started to refine my voice to build my brand, and I started serving others that had a similar pain that I was going through. So this is, something that if you're going through a rejection, it could just be a redirection. That's what this was. I was being refined. And I built clear path wealth strategies to serve the people that I identified with, to really solve a problem that I had already gone through. I'd already been through that problem. So now I was helping people navigate the same thing that I went through. I became the guide that I once needed. So this episode, guys, I want this to be a reminder for you that the setbacks that you're facing, they may not be a punishment. They might be a positioning. Right? We often think of this as like, I'm being punished. Must have done something wrong. Nah, you're doing it right. You're just being repositioned. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're definitely not done. Okay? So here's a couple things I want you to think on. I want you to really look at your own story. Right? Look at it. Like, write it down. Where were you redirected? Who hurt you, but unknowingly helped you to launch? right? I think about that GM in the automotive industry that told me no when I wanted to move up. It got so uncomfortable there because I kept hitting the glass ceiling and the politics and all of that. But he helped me really to launch when you think about it. Otherwise, I'd probably still be at that car dealership. And I want you to think about who hurt you, the guy that when I was working at Harley Davidson, when they made up stories about me and they fired me, they did me a favor, right? They did me a favor. I want you to think about that. Who hurt you, but really helped you to launch? Your scars may be someone else's survival guide. That's something else you need to think about. The things that you've been through in life, right? You made it through on the other side. So can you help somebody with that? Can you put together a training manual or a guide or a system or a process or a business or a solution to help someone? You actually could take that pain that you've been through and turn your pain into profit. A lot of you are sitting on businesses. You're sitting on products. You're sitting on solutions. And I remember I had talked about this once before, and I had a comment. It was on LinkedIn, and somebody totally disagreed with it because I was talking about turning your pain into a profit. How can you turn your pain into a launching pad for yourself? The things that you go through. Some people say turn your mess into your message, right? And I was talking about that, and the gentleman was like, he was totally disagreeing because of the monetary side. I was like, well, listen, every single business, product, solution that you can think of makes a profit off of making your life easier or solving a pain point. I mean, do you wear shoes? Okay, think about it. You wear shoes because someone else created a business model around solving a pain point, which is not stepping on glass. That's painful, okay? But they solved that pain. Now, should they just go out there and create that business and give away free shoes? It takes money to make money. You have to be able to create, a business around it in order to be able to actually help people. None of these products and services, anything that you see, none of it would exist if there wasn't a monetary side on the back end. It just wouldn't. Anyway, I want you to figure out, if you're going to go through hell, might as well turn it into some type of solution to help more people. And this way, your business or your solution is not just, a thing, a widget. It's really solving a problem and helping people and serving people, right? That's what I did. I get to do both. It's amazing. The more people I help, the better I do. How cool is that? What an amazing business plan, right? The more people I help, the better I do. How cool is that? It's a win-win. So again, look at your own story. Where were you redirected? Who hurt you but helped you to launch? And remember that your scars, they can be a survival guide for someone else. And can you create something that could help someone? Sometimes your lowest moments in life hold the seeds to your highest purpose, your calling, your mission, right? I get to help people every single day navigate something that I went through years ago. And I remember how painful it was. And now I get to try to make that easier, faster, simpler for the next guy. And how rewarding is that? I love that. I love that I get to help people do that. All right, so here's your call to action for this episode. All right. If you've made it this far, I like to leave you with a call to action. Reflect on your own story. Where did it lead? I want you to write it down. Where were you rejected? And I want you to share this with someone who needs hope, right? Maybe this is something that you could share on LinkedIn or create a piece of content around even. And if you're struggling to rebound after a layoff, I want you to talk. I want us to talk. Okay, I want you to reach out to me. Let's connect. And I want you to go through my Career Transition Summit. Okay, because your story isn't over, and I want to help you transform on the other side to make it quicker, easier, faster. I want to turn the pain that I've been into to a solution for you to make your life easier. All right. So I'm going to leave you with this question on the end of this. You know, what if the rejection you're facing right now, the moment you're going through right this second, is the redirection to your purpose that you've been waiting for? I want to say that again. What if the rejection you're facing right now is the redirection to your purpose that you've been waiting for? All right, guys. Well, that's the show. It's all about who you know. Bye.